That right there, that's magical, man. I mean, only Nintendo can make something that magical. So like, in case you're dumb and you didn't read the thumbnail or the title of the video or the title screen that is in front of your face, this time we're looking at Zelda 2. Because continuity. Yeah! Okay, so a quick recap on Zelda 1. The main problem that I had with Zelda 1 was the flow and the lack of direction in the overworld. The dungeons were great, the gameplay was great, and in Zelda 2 they threw that shit right out of the window! As you start up this game, you'll probably notice that we're rejoined by our heroes Peter Pan and Sleeping Fucking Beauty over here. This time, however, instead of being top down, it's a side-scroller. When I look at the side-scrolling in Zelda 2, I just can't help but think of Castlevania. And I've got no real proof of this, but when I look at the release date for Castlevania of 1986, and then look at the release of Zelda 2 and see that they released in 1987, it's kind of hard for me to believe that they didn't have any inspiration from Castlevania whatsoever. I mean, sure, instead of iterating on your first game, which was actually quite good, let's go for a completely different style of fucking game. What? Logic? What's Logic? I've never heard of Logic. Shigeru Miyamoto. What a silly sausage. Now, you see, this game has been split into two parts. You've got the side-scrolling parts, which is where all the gameplay occurs, and then you've got the overworld, which is how you travel around. I was going to suggest that these overworlds might have been inspired by Final Fantasy, but then I realised that this game came out before Final Fantasy. What are we at by now? Final Fantasy 858? Yeah, I think that's right. Basically, in the overworld, Link walks around looking like a little green nugget of shit. You see, this is where Zelda 2 starts to get really weird. You see, you're walking around as if it was the first Zelda, an adventure game, and then randomly you're thrust into a Castlevania type level. And you see, to me it doesn't feel like it's got any flow, and it's not congruent to anything. It just feels like they got Castlevania, and then got Final Fantasy, and a bunch of duct tape. And then they just said, yeah, here's a game. It's a game, it's next Zelda, guys. I've seen about 1 million reviews on Zelda 2, and everybody seems to be saying, oh, it's really different from any other Zelda game, it's because it's a side-scroller. You see, the thing is, I don't think that's true. I mean, yeah, Zelda 2 is a side-scroller, and it's the only Zelda side-scroller, but that's a really superficial difference, don't you think? Especially when we're talking about something that would change the whole feel of a game. I mean, let's look at Zelda 1, which is 2D and top-down. Compare that with Ocarina of Time, which is 3D and third person. They both totally feel like Zelda games, even though they couldn't be more different of perspectives. So this got me thinking, it's got to be a game design reason why Zelda 2 feels so different. And honestly, I didn't have to dig that far. I mean, once you get past the fact it's a side-scroll, it's very clear what's different about Zelda 2. Now, you see, Zelda, as a general franchise, is action-adventure because there's loads of action, and you're on an adventure. Zelda 2, on the other hand, is an RPG. This tiny little thing changes the whole game design of Zelda 2. I found that fighting the enemies was far more tedious in this game, and that's because you're getting experience from killing them. You're not killing them because they're in your way like in any other Zelda game where you're trying to get from point A to B. And because it's an RPG, it feels far less freeform and adventurous than the other Zelda games. You feel like you're killing enemies so that you can get a stronger attack and more health. Whereas in every other Zelda game, you're attacking an enemy because he's impeding your forward motion and you want to move on to the next room. The RPG elements. They're so boring. Now, you see, it might feel like I'm giving Zelda 2 a bad rap here, but it's because it just doesn't fit in as a Zelda game. As an RPG, it's fine, I guess, but as a Zelda game, what were you guys thinking? Come on, Nintendo. Fuck you! Oh, I'm sorry, I went too far. Here's the part where I've got to discuss the good things about Zelda 2. Except for, I don't want to. So,
Alright, thanks for that intro, man.
You wouldn't happen to like Zelda 2, would you?
Yeah. So Zelda 2 isn't so fondly looked on by others, and I'm not really sure why. Yes, it did change its focus from the first game, but come on, is that all you want in life? The same game over and over? This game broadened the scope of the series to feature bigger worlds and quests. Not to mention bringing in towns and more people to interact with. It finally felt like Hyrule was alive compared to the barren wastelands of the first game. This shift to side-scrolling was a smart decision too, and it helped make the fights seem more personal and the enemies more dangerous. We got detailed enemies to challenge Link in a style that feels like a loving mix between the first game and Castlevania. This game got a bad rap for some reason, but I don't understand why. It has everything you would want from a sequel. Bigger worlds, bigger story, bigger everything. I know I'm not the only one to think so, as WayForward would later take this game style and recreate it for their game, Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage? A game, I should point out, that has been given critical praise. This game has more to it than people give it credit for, and I think you should give it a shot.
Actually, I have 2 positive points of my own to make about Zelda 2. Number 1 would be that in this game, there are Zubats in the cave. I was so disappointed by Zelda 1, there was just some shitty old man in there. In this game, you get Zubats. Finally. Number 2 has got to be the soundtrack. I mean, it's just such a great soundtrack, especially for such an early time in video gaming. I especially like the dungeon or temple theme, and I'm gonna play it over the conclusion of this video, because it's my fucking video so I can do what I want.
Now, with that out of the way, how the hell did I get here?
Zelda 2. A game which at its core had some decent ideas. It's a shame, but I feel like the negative points of the game just really outweigh any positives. The main problem is the game tries to do many things, but it just ends up doing nothing well. Instead of embracing the limitations of the NES like they did with the original Zelda game and Mario and Castlevania and many other love titles, it feels like Nintendo bit off just way more than they could chew. It's not hard to see then why Nintendo would decide to go back to a more basic format with the future installments of Zelda. The most frustrating thing to me about Zelda 2 is that WayForward's Adventure Time title has shown us that this format is not terrible. In fact, I feel like this format could be pretty good if it was iterated upon by like an indie dev or something. For me personally, the main thing that holds Zelda 2 back from being an enjoyable game is the little things, like how being hit by enemies takes away your XP. Yeah, you did just hear that right. Being hurt by enemies takes your XP away. Ah, fuck this game. Not to mention it's a massive, boring grind fest. If you haven't played this game, honestly it's not worth the frustration or the time that you'd put into it. If you're looking for a really challenging NES game, go for Castlevania. And if you're interested in seeing the roots of Zelda, to see how it evolved into the great franchise that it is today, you can pretty much ignore this one because all they learnt from this game is to not do Zelda 2 again. But Zelda 2 isn't a terrible game. What it was a misstep. Just a little wrong turn on the road to greatness that the Zelda series was on. Thank you so much for watching the second ever installment of Into Retro. Into Retro is a series where I look at really influential game franchises over the years and I take a look at every major installment. As you can tell, we're looking at Zelda because, you know, it's Zelda. In case you missed my episode on Zelda 1, you can click on it. It's right in the middle of the screen right now. It will hopefully be annotated unless you just clicked on this video as I uploaded it, which would make you awesome, by the way. A giant shout out to JUSTInTime. You'll be able to click the link on the screen that says click here for JUSTInTime. He was really great to work with, and just thanks so much for appearing in my video. A bit of bad news is that production will be very slow on this channel until around June, because I've got so many college exams like you guys cannot imagine. But I will be trying to work on some really small videos, but even then they'll take a little bit of a while. So what I suggest to you guys, while you're waiting for me to come out with the new videos, go to reddit.r/NormalBootsUnited. You can just check the description for a link if you don't want to be typing that shit out. And some guys who I suggest who are similar to me in content and will be posting regularly is Super Sammycom, who I'll put a link for Sam on the left, and Posy vs the World, who I'll put on the right. And of course, like, favourites, subs, all of that stuff is really appreciated and lets me know if I'm doing what you guys want me to be doing. And you can leave a comment for feedback, that's always appreciated. And if you need to talk to me, Twitter and Facebook is a place to go because I can just reply to you on the go on my phone. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Goodbye. I hope you enjoyed the video, I really hope you do. Thanks for watching, bye.